Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Age Interrupted podcast. I'm your host, Jill White, functional pharmacist and certified personal trainer. And I help women defy aging by learning to put on muscle by lifting weights and following a healthful, balanced nutrition plan for life. And it is something you do for the rest of your life, which can feel overwhelming at first. But what keeps muscle is what makes muscle. So, what I propose and what I work with for my clients is a lifestyle. So today we're actually going to have kind of an uncomfortable podcast for me because I don't really like talking about myself too much. Even though I am a very open person, a very transparent person, and will share openly. And I hope all the things that I've ever went through can help someone else in a positive way. I don't do it a lot, which is why I'm on podcast episode number, I'm not sure what number this is, it's 13 or 14, I think. And I finally realized that I should tell you more about myself. I actually have a lab interpretation course, which I'll get to in the story about myself. And that was one of the questions I had from a lot of my students was just they wanted to hear more about me and how I ended up where I was. And so I realized that maybe I should do that here as well. So I hope you enjoy it because, as I mentioned, I truly, truly want to make this a community of mentally and physically strong women. And I don't think I can do that if I'm not open with who I am. And on We Talk Wednesdays, I want to talk to you all. So I want you to know more about me. So here we go. As I mentioned, I am a functional pharmacist, first off. So how did I end up there? Because those two words don't usually go together. As you can probably all attest from this decade we've been in. But so to start, I got married young and had a baby young. I always say I was young but legal. And that was when I was just going to my first part of university. I did my prerequisites and then went and got accepted into pharmacy school. So I was in pharmacy school for a while. Actually, the first time I went to pharmacy school, I'm just going to be real with you. I was only in for a couple months, and my husband at the time and I had some problems, and I had to leave pharmacy school. We'll just put it at that. And so I did some other work for a year or two, and then ended up going back to pharmacy school and graduate. Actually, after my first year of school, I then had our second child. And so, not the best decision ever, though I love him so much and wouldn't change it. It was very hard to have a newborn and a 5-year-old, almost six. Actually, he was 6 by the time the semester started during grueling professional medical type school. And I can remember in my 4th year, one of my rotations, one of my professors asked me, what were you thinking having a child in pharmacy school? And I pretty much just answered her that I was taking one for the team because I didn't want my boys to grow up farther apart than the 6 years. So it was just time. And that had been 3 years prior. So after pharmacy school, I worked in retail pharmacy and was really your typical pharmacist, educated in the 4 walls of professional medical type education, pharmacy specifically, and did and thought all the things that most pharmacists do and think. Granted, I still was not really into medicine too much, like as far as personally. I wasn't really as far away from it as I am now, but at the time. And so I didn't really like retail pharmacy, and over time actually ended up, I'll just fast forward a little bit, being an active duty pharmacist in the Air Force. That's former Captain White here. So I was and during this time my first marriage actually ended, and joined the military as a single mom of 2. during the time that I was in the Air Force, had some really great experiences, which I can just say for another time, but ended up getting remarried. And during the 4th year of my commitment, had my third child, who is now still my only one in the home. She's my 11, almost 12-year-old. And after I left the military, I did a little bit in the pharmacy world again, and then ended up in pharma, like that pharma, big pharma, the pharma, like the big names, Novartis, GSK, those ones. They paid my check for a little while, and some others. Always felt kind of hypocritical because, so okay, let me rewind a little bit. Before I actually got into pharma, while I was after the military, but before pharma, and I was really just working back in retail part-time with my pretty much newborn to toddler. My father actually was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And if you hear the muscle um, podcast, I actually talk about when I took him to the ER. And I didn't actually tell the end of that story, but I had taken him to the ER, and how we should not take for granted when that we can move and walk and lift and do things and be active, because he would have given anything at that time in his life to do those things. I never said in that episode, I don't remember which episode it was. I'll have to link it below. But he never made it out of the hospital. He got admitted to the oncology ward, and 6 weeks later, from the treatment, he passed away. And that really changed everything about my outlook. Everything. I came to realize that everything that we eat, everything that we drink, everything that we breathe, all the things affect our health and our life, and that we were really just being poisoned. And so that was 2013. And that was a turning point in my life for sure. Everything became organic. Everything became, as chemical free as possible. I'm not super that way. Like I'm not as much as some people, I guess, because I mean, I do believe it's all additive. So I control what I can control, but I'm do it in a way that I still enjoy my life, I guess. And so starting in 2013, I actually went back to school to get my master's in nutrition, because learning that everything we ate was so important to our health. And I started a consulting business called Healthy Ambitions, and wanted to help people. I've always wanted to help people. And in this world of health, fitness, wellness. And so what I realized when I had applied, it got accepted to our state's university at their Masters of Nutrition program. This is still pre-pharma. And went through a semester in class in person, and can remember sitting there one day listening to this esteemed lecture on vitamins. Actually was, I believe, when I finally had this epiphany, even though I felt this way the whole time, thinking to myself that everything he's saying is archaic. Like the amount I had scratched the surface into health and wellness, true holistic health, I knew what he was saying was ridiculous. And that's the kind of information that these, no offense to you all who go into it to help people too, but registered dietitians, they are learning these same things. Kind of like when I was in pharmacy school, I learned pharmacy. They're in dietitian school and learn information in a book, in a curriculum that's okay, that's approved, and it's just historic, but it's archaic. And that's a lot of the information that we get passed on. And that's how we ended up with the food pyramid, having 20 servings, not really, it's a hyperbola, but of grains as our foundation. And anyways, so I left that program. I had to ask myself, do I just want this credential, knowing that this information is bogus and I will literally not use it? It's not helpful. I'm not furthering my education, or not. And so I left. It wasn't worth it. I did though, however, over time, and I believe I was probably in pharma by the time that I had got into, switched over to a master's in holistic nutrition from an online university. And so by the time, my point being, when I was in pharma, I was already at the place where I did feel a little bit like a hypocrite working in big pharma and not believing in medicine for the most part. You know, in an acute situation, it's a lifesaver. But as far as chronic disease, I do believe we can control so much more than we have ever been led to believe by nutrition, by movement, by light, stress, controlling our stress management, all these things. And so I ended up working in pharma for about 7 years and went up from being in field medical and working out in the field, seeing physicians around the country. Um, when my sales rep counterpart couldn't answer the question, or if it was about research, different things, I would go and answer. And then I moved up into field medical leadership and was actually the trainer for a medical team that I was on. And that's really when I continued my education and training and learning about how to train and how to talk to people and how to, that light bulb moment. You know, these are other doctorate level people that I was training, PharmDs, PhDs, maybe ODs, because I was in ophthalmology for a little while, and even an MD in ophthalmology. But I learned a lot about training, and I learned also, even before that, how to communicate and to meet people where they are, because sometimes I would be talking to my sales reps and sometimes I would be, in a more friendly way, and but still professional. And then sometimes I'd be speaking to top cardiologists who kind of have a God complex and think they could walk on water practically. And so learning how to um make my meeting people where they are in conversation and in training and in talking and teaching different things, which is, I think, one reason why I do like to work with beginners a lot, just because I can empathize to the point of if they're actually understanding, and if I need to, really level set the conversation. But anyways, so after I left pharma, I actually left pharma to start an online wellness business. I believe it was 2022, completely left pharma, 100%, and I did a full-time wellness business, working with business coach, a wellness business coach, who had a whole business surrounding that. Did online wellness for a while. And it's funny because when I was in my online wellness practice, I knew all the nutrition things. I knew all the movement things, not to the point of being a certified trainer as I am now, but still I knew how to help people. But what I didn't know, and this is what's funny, what I didn't know was how to interpret lab work in a functional way. And so I was searching and trying to consume all this information about lab work in a pretty quick period of time, because I was trying to hit the ground running with this wellness practice, having literal clients that I needed to help, but not knowing what I was doing with their lab work. So I was just deep diving into different functional lab courses. Well, the trainer in me realized all the flaws that were in all of these other courses, and not even just flaws, but how it could be done, in my opinion, a better way. And I ended up creating my own lab course for practitioners, wellness practitioners, um, and teaching people. And honestly, just saying, have some rave reviews. Had an email today actually telling me, she said she learned more in my first module than she had learned in 4 years in medical laboratory school. But so I still have that. It is for, like I said, wellness practitioners, and I teach them how to read labs in a functional way. Interpret normal labs for optimal health is the name of the course. So I do that, and I love that. And I love working with providers, but I still had this desire to help in the fitness world. Because I love the gym and I love lifting weights, and I believe in it so much for women. It's so important. So, so, so important. I was speaking with my mother-in-law last night about how important it is for her bones and for her strength and for her balance and for her life going forward that she needs to incorporate strength training. And I think I have her on the train and gonna get her to start lifting weights because she already goes to work out. She does a lot of stretching, she does some Zumba. And so I'm excited. But as a lot of us, her weight's not doing what she wants, even though she adds more activity and she feels like she's eating very well. And I know what she eats. She does eat really well. But I know that resistance training is the missing key. So I'm excited about that. But um, so through all of those things, I'll just cover a couple things that I kind of missed through my story. I did a lot of time. I went pretty far in my master's of holistic nutrition. I did not finish because of some other personal reasons with one of my children. Um, but I have worked with the Institute for Functional Medicine, and as you probably know, I did get my certification as a personal trainer, and just a lot of non-professional but great continuing education in the functional world, the functional health world, the wellness world, the nutrition world, the fitness world, the holistic living world. And so I kind of put all of that together. And that's how I call myself a functional pharmacist, because I would never go back to the way that I practiced or the beliefs that I held before 2013. Um, so I think that really brings me to now. I will say, just personally, I have the three children. I'm on my second marriage, and it's hard. And I still work with a life coach. I work with a style coach. I'll be honest, I would have never in a million years worn these earrings before working with her. And she's just like, life's too short. Have fun. And I know if you're on Spotify, you can't see my earrings, but they are bold and fun. And if you go on YouTube and look at this episode, you can see them. And yes, I can address this because, like I said, we're friends here, we're a community. And after my second child in pharmacy school, he actually had a preterm birth, a very stressful birth. And I noticed that my hair started to fall out. And of course, it was, well, you just had a baby. It's fine. It's normal. It'll, it'll come back. That was after my first year. During my fourth year of pharmacy school is actually the beginning of my fourth year is when I got diagnosed with celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease if you're not familiar with it. And that is where your body fights the gluten molecule. Your body hates gluten. You can't have it ever, ever, ever because it's just like an attack in your intestines. And prior to that, I had started showing signs of other autoimmune diseases that do run in females in my family. I had started taking some medications for achy joints, different things. So my life could have even went a different, more sickly route, but thankfully I got diagnosed with celiac. Not thankfully, but thankfully, because once I removed gluten, all of my other autoimmune issues resolved, really, for the most part. Except my hair. My hair just continued to become less and less. And I did it all. Like, you don't have to leave me a comment about something. I tried the lights, I tried the shots, I tried PRP, I did hair club, I did all the things, all the shots, all the creams, all the biopsies, multiple dermatologists, um, blood work, right? Everything. And at this point, I just say if God wanted me to have hair, I would have hair. But I hid it. I hid it for a long, 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 long time. I missed out on a lot of things while I was hiding it, and it ran my life a lot while I was hiding it. I would use powders, I would use hairstyles, hats, of course, especially in the recent history, mostly hats. After I had cut it short, because in my mind I had ponytails and I would hide it in a ponytail. And then I was like, about 2020, right before COVID happened, it was literally January of 2020. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cut my hair short So you might even see some pictures of me with just like this cute little fun hairstyle, which I actually really liked. But I would still have to put some camouflaging powder, kind of like a dry shampoo, but it was brown in it every time I wanted to go anywhere. And I did that, and I actually liked that haircut. I did that for 4 years. And then finally, when we started going on the road, which you may not know, I should tell you that too. Um, a year and a half ago, my husband and I sold everything we owned, the cars, the house, all of our belongings, everything. Had an estate sale, like literally sold everything. I have no storage unit. I have one box in my mom's attic of like pictures and keepsakes. Sold everything we owned, bought an RV, which is my beautiful office that you see me in on YouTube, and I'm coming to you from on Spotify. And we travel for his work. So he goes around the country and we travel. We try to stay in places for over 3 months, 3, 4, 6 months. A year is like even better. And so when we started doing that, I had to move away from my hairdresser who did my little fun, cute hair. So I started just not doing anything. I was just letting it grow, and I didn't know, I had no like end goal. So once we had bought the RV, it was nice and beautiful and shiny, and I didn't want to get my little powders everywhere. So I really quit hardly powdering it, camouflaging it. I would go to like the RV park bathroom maybe and do it with a mirror. And I had been talking about shaving it. So that's my point. In 2020, I was like, oh, I'll go short before I shave it because it would be so weird. I was always worried about other people and what other people's response would be. Oh, I don't want to shock people by going from having long hair and a ponytail where they think that I have it up because I would put these little fake, buns on it or extra ponytail hair or whatever, to nothing. So I cut it short first. And then I actually ended up liking it and I kept it for a while. And honestly, you can imagine, right? Like this is dramatic. I get it. So it's not like I could just walk in one day and do it. It took a lot of time. My husband's been very supportive. He honestly volunteered to do it the very first time and volunteers to do it each week when I kind of buzz it. But this is new. This took a strong, vulnerable woman to do. Like literally, I've had it, I think at this point, maybe 3 weeks, less than a month. Oh yeah, the Saturday before Memorial Day, 2024. So whenever you're listening or watching this, you can count back. But honestly, it was the most freeing thing I have ever done in my whole entire life. It was hard to do. I did it in small sections and kept showing my daughter so like it wouldn't be some big dramatic change when she saw me. Um, when I did it when my husband was at work, and so he didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't tell him ahead of time, even though we had talked about it and he knew I'd wanted to, but I think he just assumed I was bluffing at this point. Um, and so I'm pretty much used to it myself. My family, I think, is pretty much used to it. But of course, anytime I go anywhere, it's new to the people that are around me and they see me. So I do get some looks. Some people think I have cancer or something, it's sad that it's socially acceptable if you have cancer, but if you have alopecia or anything else, then it's like not acceptable. Kind of. I don't know. I'm normalizing it, okay? Like I'm totally normalizing it. Hence the beautiful big earrings. Um, because I feel so free and I love it. And I'm so thankful for the support I get about it. It's not meant to be like some I'm woman hear me roar thing. It was just literally like if God wanted me to have hair, I would have hair. And so here I am. And I'm so appreciative for all of you for listening, for comments, for giving this podcast a 5-star review if you love it, leaving a comment on YouTube if you watch it. Say hi. I will totally come and reply and chat with you. Send me an email at jillwhitecoaching@gmail.com. And you can find more about working with me at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/JillWhiteCPT. Because like I said at the beginning, I help women defy age. I'm 45 I'll be 46 in a couple of months. I have 3 children. My oldest is 26 almost. He'll be 27 next month. And I still don't, it's hard to say that. Like, that's weird. Like I said, I was young but legal. But we can do this. And taking care of our nutrition is so important. Sleeping well is important. Movement is important, but muscle, you got to have muscle too. You can't just move. Like, you got to have muscle. You got to eat right for muscle. Like, most people, anyways, I'm watch the macro video. I'm actually going to do another one because I've had some requests to bring it down even more for like a beginner. And you know, that's right up my alley. So I'm going to break it down so insanely elementary because I want everyone to understand it, because I think that the episode I did even maybe assumed a level of knowing macros, proteins, carbs, fats, and I should not have done that. I mean, it was fine for an intro because like I've said on all of these past 10 to a dozen episodes, like we're going to dive into these things. I do this every day, so we have nothing but time to dive into the topics more deeply. If you have something you would like me to chat about, send me that email, jillwhitecoaching@gmail.com. Please like, comment, share this episode. Again, I think that's all I want to say about myself. Sometimes I literally didn't like write anything down for notes to follow through. So I'll probably think of something in a bit. Like, oh, here's a couple of my hobbies. I didn't say anything about hobbies. Like, I love jujitsu. I don't do it right now. My back is a whole nother story. It's still a little tweaked from the other day. I finally found a chiropractor here. We're just chatting. We're just chatting. I finally found a chiropractor and went to, and I do think I'm on the uphill. I think I'll be able to make it back to the gym by Monday. Um, when I was 40, ooh, 2 more things real fast that are really fun things that I did. When I was 40, I climbed my first glaciated mountain, Mount Baker in Washington State. So if, for those of you that don't know, a glaciated mountain is like not a mountain you just hike with trees and grass and rocks. Like, you walk through the grass and trees and rocks uphill for 4 miles until you get to the glacier, like like ice glacier, like ice pick and crampons on your boots, like the things that stick into the ice. I did that when I was 40. And I also, when I was 40, which came first? Okay, so I was like 41 when I climbed the mountain. I was 40 when I joined the sheriff reserve department for my local county's sheriff department. I went to basically police academy, and it was just a volunteer. It's the reserves. It's a volunteer thing, which actually you end up paying because you buy all of your things to just serve and help. Have I mentioned that I like to help people? Like, that's why I'm here on this earth, is to help people. Um, so I've done some fun things, and if there's anything else you want me to talk a little bit more about, let me know. I lived in Italy for a month last year with my daughter. We were doing the world schooling thing. That didn't quite pan out how I expected, hence I'm here in the RV and right now Kentucky, USA. Hey, Kentucky. Anything else? Mm, I don't know. I might can think of some more. I'm gonna write a book because I have a lot to say. I've learned a lot of things. I've had hard marriages. Marriage is hard. You work for it. I love my husband dearly, and but it can be hard and struggle. And you know what? Though I don't regret any of it because it all made me who I am today. And we all are, every one of you, no matter what you have or have not, think you have not done, being a wife, a mom, a mother, I guess that's the same thing, a wife, a mother, working inside or outside the home, like that job never stops. You are so strong and we are so resilient and we take care of all the things and have a million things on our mind at any given moment. So I commend you and thank you. And I guess I just want to remind you until next time. Remember to enjoy the process because it's a lifelong journey. Bye bye.